The steady rhythm of machinery was the first thing Admiral Mira Hayes became aware of. A soft, persistent hum that had been her constant companion for what should have been 50 years of dreamless sleep. Her eyelids fluttered against the harsh white light as the cryopod's transparent cover slid open with a pneumatic hiss. Cold air rushed over her skin, raising goosebumps along her arms. "Status report," she croaked, her voice rough from disuse. 50 years of silence had taken its toll, despite the nutrient solutions and vocal cord preservation protocols. No response came. Mira forced herself to sit up, ignoring the vertigo that threatened to overwhelm her. The revival process was never pleasant, but she'd been through it before during training simulations. This felt different, though heavier, as if time itself had become a physical weight pressing down on her chest. "Orpheus," she called, addressing the ship's AI system. "Status report." After a moment's delay, a cool, neutral voice responded. "Good morning, Admiral Hayes. Ship systems are functioning at 87% capacity. Current location, orbit around Epsilon Tau for local date conversion, June 17th, 2828. Mira's hands gripped the edge of the cryopod. "Repeat date. Local date conversion, June 17th, 2828. 350 years. That couldn't be right. Their expedition to the Epsilon Tau system had been scheduled for 50 years, accounting for travel time and preliminary exploration. They should have reached their destination in 2528. "Where is the rest of the crew?" Mira asked, her mind racing through possibilities, each more alarming than the last. "No other life signs detected aboard the Aurelia," Orpheus replied. "Ship has been maintaining orbital position and awaiting mission completion for 300 years since last communication with Alliance Command." Mira swung her legs over the side of the pod, wincing as blood rushed back into her extremities. The revival medications were already at work, accelerating her recovery, but her body still felt alien to her, stiff and uncooperative. She looked around the cryo bay, where 30 other pods stood in neat rows, their covers open, their interiors empty. "What happened to the crew?" she demanded, fighting to keep her voice steady. "Information restricted," Orpheus replied. "Override. Authorization Hayes. Mira J. Admiral. Code Epsilon 97 Delta." A pause. "Override accepted. Limited information available. Ship's log indicates crew awakening occurred as scheduled in year 2478. Initial planetary survey was conducted. Communication with Alliance Command continued for approximately 50 years before ceasing. Last recorded log entry dated March 3rd, 2528. Mira's training kicked in, overriding the panic threatening to consume her. First priority, assess the situation. Second, secure survival necessities. Third, establish communication. The recycled air in the cryo bay felt suddenly oppressive. She pushed herself to her feet, swaying slightly before finding her balance. Her uniform, stored in a compartment beside the pod, felt stiff and slightly too large. Muscle atrophy was inevitable during cryosleep, despite the electrical stimulation protocols. "Show me the ship's current status," she ordered. Moving toward the central console, a holographic display materialized, showing the Aurelia's systems. Most glowed a reassuring green, with a few sections in yellow, indicating minor issues that had developed over the centuries. Nothing immediately life-threatening. "Ship integrity is sound," Orpheus confirmed. "Primary life support, propulsion, and communication systems are operational, some degradation in secondary systems. Recommend system-wide diagnostic." Mira nodded, then realized the AI probably wasn't monitoring her visual responses. "Proceed with diagnostic. I'm going to check the bridge." The corridors of the Aurelia were eerily silent as Mira made her way forward. Emergency lighting cast long shadows, creating the illusion of movement in the corners of her vision. The ship had been designed to house a crew of 31, 30 scientists and researchers, with Mira as their military escort and mission commander. Now, The absence of human presence was palpable, a silence that seemed to have physical weight. On the bridge. Mira sank into the captain's chair, her fingers automatically finding the control panels. Orpheus. Access mission parameters. Display original objectives. The main view screen flickered to life, displaying text that Mira had once known by heart. Mission. Aurelia. Objective. Investigate potential ancient life signatures detected on Epsilon Tau. 4. Duration. Estimated 50 standard years, including travel time. Priority. Alpha level. Possible first contact scenario. Show me what happened, Mira said quietly. Display logs, chronologically, beginning with crew revival. Warning, Orpheus responded. Log data is extensive and may contain corrupted segments. Understood. Proceed. The view screen shifted, displaying the first entry. A woman's face appeared, Captain Eliza Chen, the scientific lead. Mira's breath caught in her throat. She had known these people, trained with them for years before the mission, had shared meals and dreams and fears with them. Mission log, Aurelia Expedition. Captain Chen began. Day 1 after revival. All crew accounted for and in good health. Admiral Hayes remains in cryosleep as per protocol, military contingent to be awakened only if necessary. We've established orbit around Epsilon Tau 4 and preliminary scans are fascinating. The energy signatures that brought us here are still active, though faint. We'll begin surface exploration tomorrow. The log ended, and another began immediately. Day 2, then Day 3. Mira watched, transfixed, as the story unfolded before her. The initial excitement as the science team discovered ruins of what appeared to be an ancient civilization. The cautious optimism as they found what they believed to be genetic material preserved in crystalline structures. The growing concern as strange events began to occur, equipment malfunctions, unexplained energy readings, crew members reporting odd dreams. Skip ahead, Mira ordered after watching several hours of footage. Show me the final days before communication was lost. The screen flickered, and Captain Chen appeared again, now looking considerably older. Nearly 50 years had passed, according to the timestamp. Her once dark hair was streaked with silver, her face lined with age and worry. Mission log, day 18,263, she said, her voice weary. The Alliance is recalling us. After all this time, after everything we've discovered, they're pulling the plug. The ancient defense system we activated is deemed too dangerous, too unpredictable. Perhaps they're right. We've lost 7 people to it already. She sighed, running a hand through her hair. But we're so close to understanding it, to communicating with it. This isn't just some automated relic. There's intelligence here, consciousness. The genetic material we found isn't just preserved DNA, it's a storage medium, containing the collective knowledge of an entire civilization. The captain leaned closer to the camera, her eyes intense. I've made a decision. Those who wish to return will take the shuttle. I and those who choose to remain will continue our work. The Aurelia will stay in orbit, with Admiral Hayes in cryosleep as our insurance policy. If we succeed, we'll wake her. If we fail... She trailed off, then straightened her shoulders. If we fail. The ship's AI is programmed to maintain orbit until conditions are right for another attempt. 100 years. 1,000. However long it takes. The log ended. Mira sat in stunned silence, trying to process what she'd heard. She was never meant to be awakened unless they succeeded. But something had triggered her revival after 3 centuries. Orpheus, she said finally. What were the conditions programmed for my revival? Specified conditions were detection of stable genetic integration process on planetary surface, or external emergency requiring military intervention. And which condition was met? A pause. Both. Mira leaned forward. Explain. Sensors detected successful genetic integration approximately 72 hours ago. Simultaneously, ancient defense system entered active state, targeting orbital positions. Threat assessment indicated immediate risk to ship integrity. A chill ran down Mira's spine. Are you telling me there's something alive down there? Something that resulted from the crew's experiments? Affirmative. Life signs detected in vicinity of original research base. Patterns consistent with intelligent activity. Defense system appears to be responding to this development. Mira rose from the chair, moving to the viewport. The planet below. Epsilon Tau 4 hung in space like a dusty marble, predominantly rust-colored, with small patches of what might be vegetation near the equator. Somewhere on that surface was the answer to what happened to her crew, and possibly a new form of life. I need to go down there, she said, more to herself than to the AI. Warning, Orpheus responded. Defense system is active and has locked onto Aurelia's position. Planetary descent inadvisable. Mira turned from the viewport. Show me the defense system's pattern. Is there any way to predict its targeting algorithm? The view screen changed, displaying an orbital map with angry red markers indicating energy buildups on the planet's surface. The pattern was complex but not random. There was a rhythm to it, a sequence. System appears to be following defensive protocols designed to prevent orbital bombardment, Orpheus offered. There are gaps in coverage approximately every 7.4 hours, lasting 23 minutes. That's my window. Then, Mira said, prepare a landing craft. I'll need environmental gear, weapons, and all the data we have on the research base location. Admiral Hayes, Orpheus said, and Mira thought she detected a new note in the AI's voice, something almost like concern. Mission parameters do not require your personal intervention. Automated probes could... Mission parameters changed 300 years ago. Mira cut in. I'm going down there. Orpheus, prepare the landing craft. As Mira made her way to the shuttle bay, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Several times she turned, expecting to find someone behind her, only to face empty corridors. Once, she could have sworn she heard footsteps, but when she called out, only silence answered. The shuttle bay was vast and echoing, designed to house multiple craft. Now only two remained, the primary shuttle, sleek and built for atmosphere entry, and a smaller emergency vehicle. Mira approached the main shuttle, laying her palm on the entry scanner. The door slid open, revealing the compact interior. As she began the pre-launch sequence, a reflection caught her eye, a handprint on one of the control panels, visible only from a certain angle. When she turned to look directly at it, it vanished. Mira's heart raced. Was she hallucinating? A side effect of extended cryosleep, perhaps? Orpheus, she said, her voice echoing in the shuttle's cabin. Run a scan for any anomalous energy signatures or environmental contaminants that might cause hallucinations. Scanning, the AI replied. After a moment, no anomalies detected. However, sensors indicate unusual quantum fluctuations in your immediate vicinity. Pattern suggests temporal displacement. Temporal displacement? You mean time travel? Negative. Rather, an echo of events that have already occurred, or will occur. The phenomenon is consistent with theoretical models of quantum entanglement across time streams. Mira's scientific training struggled to make sense of this. Are you saying I'm seeing ghosts? That would be an imprecise but not entirely inaccurate analogy, Orpheus replied. The Aurelia has existed in this orbit for 300 years. Quantum imprints of past events may be manifesting due to your presence as an observer. Mira shook her head, focusing on the task at hand. Ghost or hallucination, she couldn't allow herself to be distracted. Launch sequence initiated, she announced. Next gap in the defense system coverage in... How long? 3 hours, Orpheus replied. Sufficient time to complete preparations and achieve optimal launch trajectory. Mira spent those hours gathering supplies and studying the mission logs in more detail. The story that emerged was both fascinating and troubling. The ancient civilization of Epsilon Tau 4 had apparently faced extinction from some cosmic event, a solar flare, perhaps, or radiation from a nearby supernova. Instead of trying to survive the calamity, they had encoded their genetic material, their memories, their entire civilization into crystalline structures that could withstand millions of years of dormancy. Captain Chen and her team had discovered how to activate these structures, to begin the process of reviving the ancient species. But they had also triggered the planet's automated defense system, apparently designed to protect the dormant civilization from external threats. 7 crew members had died before they understood what they were dealing with. By the time the Alliance ordered them to abandon the mission, Captain Chen had become convinced that they were on the verge of successful communication with the ancient intelligence. She and 11 others had chosen to remain on the planet's surface, continuing their work, while the rest of the crew returned to Alliance space in the other shuttle. That had been 50 years after the mission began. What had happened in the 250 years since? "Launch window approaching," Orpheus announced, interrupting Mira's thoughts. "Defense system will enter recalibration phase in 17 minutes. Mira sealed her environmental suit, checking the oxygen supply and radiation shielding. The atmosphere of Epsilon Tau 4 was technically breathable, but toxic by human standards, high in sulfur compounds and low in oxygen. She could survive briefly without the suit, but not comfortably or safely. "Initiating launch sequence," she said, strapping herself into the pilot's seat. The shuttle hummed to life around her, systems coming online in a carefully choreographed sequence. As the shuttle bay doors began to open, exposing the blackness of space, Mira felt a moment of doubt. She was alone, cut off from the Alliance, about to descend to a planet where an ancient defense system might target her at any moment. The rational course would be to try to repair the long-range communication systems, to call for help. But that would take time, months, maybe years given the damage and obsolescence of the equipment. And something was happening on the planet's surface now. Something connected to the mission her crew had given their lives for. "Launch in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Orpheus counted down. The shuttle's engines ignited, propelling it forward into the void. The descent to Epsilon Tau 4 was turbulent but manageable. Mira guided the shuttle through the atmosphere, following the coordinates of the original research base. As the clouds parted beneath her, the landscape came into view, a vast, rust-colored desert, broken by ridges of dark rock and occasional patches of what looked like purple vegetation. The research base itself was visible from the air, a cluster of modular structures nestled in a shallow valley, surrounded by what appeared to be experimental agricultural plots. Some of the structures had collapsed, but others seemed intact, their solar panels still gleaming in the alien sunlight. Mira brought the shuttle down on a flat area designated as the landing pad. As the engines powered down, an eerie silence fell. She checked her suit's environmental readings one last time before opening the shuttle's door and stepping onto the surface of Epsilon Tau 4. The gravity was slightly stronger than Earth standard, not uncomfortable, but noticeable. Mira's boots sank slightly into the rusty soil as she made her way toward the research base. Weapon at the ready. The air was hazy, giving the landscape a dreamlike quality. In the distance, strange formations rose like the bones of ancient beasts, the ruins that had first attracted the Alliance's attention. The door to the main research module was ajar. Sand drifted against its base. Mira pushed it open, the metal groaning in protest. Inside, dust covered everything: workstations, equipment, personal items abandoned in what appeared to be haste rather than orderly departure. A coffee mug still sat on one desk, its contents long since evaporated to a dark stain. Mira made her way to the central computer terminal, brushing away dust. To her surprise, it powered up at her touch, the ancient systems coming to life with a wheeze of cooling fans. "Local system online," announced a voice that was eerily similar to Orpheus, but somehow older, wearier. "Identify yourself." "Admiral Mira Hayes, Alliance Expeditionary Force." Mira replied, "I'm from the Aurelia." A long pause. "Identity confirmed. Welcome, Admiral Hayes. You have been expected." Mira frowned. Expected by whom? "By those who came before, and those who came after." The computer's voice shifted, becoming more human, more familiar. With a start, Mira recognized Captain Chen's voice. "We succeeded, Admiral. Not as we expected to, but we succeeded." A holographic image flickered to life before Mira. Captain Chen, but changed. Her eyes held an alien quality, her movements too fluid, too precise. "You're not really her," Mira said, her hand moving to her weapon. "No," the hologram agreed. "And yes, I am what Eliza Chen became, what we all became. We merged with them. Admiral. The ancient ones? Their consciousness, stored in crystal, awaiting vessels. We offered ourselves." Mira took an involuntary step back. "You allowed yourselves to be taken over?" "Not taken over. Merged. Enhanced. We are neither human nor Tau, but something new. Something more." The hologram gestured, and the walls of the research module seemed to dissolve, revealing the landscape beyond, but changed where there had been desert. There were now gardens. The ruins in the distance glowed with soft light, restored. "This is what we accomplished," the Chen hologram said. "We rebuilt their civilization, using their knowledge and our adaptability. For 200 years, we thrived here." "What happened?" Mira asked, noticing the past tense. "Where are you now?" The hologram's expression grew somber. "The defense system was never fully understood, even by the ancient ones. It operates on principles beyond our comprehension. 50 years ago, it began targeting us, identifying the hybrid beings we had become as a threat." "Are you saying it wiped you out? All of you?" "Not all. Some fled underground. Others managed to leave the planet. I, the being that was once Eliza Chen, chose to upload my consciousness into this system. To wait for you." The hologram flickered. "The defense system is awakening again, Admiral. It senses new life, new activity. The genetics lab in the Eastern Module has remained operational all this time, continuing the work we began. A new generation of hybrids is emerging, and the defense system wants to destroy them," Mira concluded. "That's why I was awakened." "Yes, you are the contingency plan, Admiral. The one who could make the choice we couldn't." "What choice?" The hologram's image stabilized, becoming more solid, more present. "Whether to destroy the defense system, allowing the new hybrid civilization to flourish, potentially spreading throughout the galaxy, or to destroy the genetics lab, ending the experiment permanently." Mira's mind reeled. She had awakened expecting to find a failed mission, perhaps remnants of her crew to rescue. Instead, she was being asked to decide the fate of an entirely new form of life. "Show me," she said finally. "Show me these hybrids." The hologram nodded, and the image changed, displaying a different part of the research base. A large, transparent chamber dominated the space, filled with swirling mist. Within the mist, shapes moved, humanoid, but different. Taller, more fluid in their movements, with skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. "They are conscious," the Chen hologram said. "Intelligent. They possess the collective knowledge of both our species. They could revive this world completely, make it a beacon of science and art in this sector of the galaxy." "Or?" Mira prompted, sensing there was more. "Or they could be seen as a threat. The defense system certainly thinks so, and perhaps the Alliance would as well, if they knew." a new species with advanced technology and knowledge of human weaknesses. Many would consider that a risk not worth taking. Mira watched the beings move within their chamber, graceful and alien, and yet somehow familiar. "What would you have me do?" "I cannot decide for you, Admiral. That is why you were preserved, to make the choice with fresh eyes, unbiased by our experiences." The hologram flickered again. "But I can tell you this. In the time I spent as a hybrid being, I experienced a depth of understanding, a breadth of consciousness that no pure human ever could. We were more together than either species could be alone." A warning alarm sounded, and the holographic image distorted. "The defense system has detected your presence," the Chen voice said urgently. "You have little time. The control center for the defense system is in the northern ruins, the temple-like structure. The genetics lab can be terminated from this console." "Wait," Mira said as the hologram began to fade. "There must be another option, a way to communicate with the defense system, to convince it these hybrids aren't a threat." "We tried." The voice was fading now, breaking up. "For years, we tried. It operates on protocols established millions of years ago, designed to prevent any alteration of the original Tau genetic code. It sees the hybrids as corruption, not evolution." "Then I'll have to find a third option," Mira said, determination hardening her voice. "I won't choose between genocide and destruction." The hologram was almost gone now, a ghost of light in the dusty air. "You always were stubborn, Admiral," it said, with a hint of what might have been affection. "Perhaps that's why we chose you as our fail-safe, the control center. Remember, northern ruins." With that, the image vanished completely, leaving Mira alone in the abandoned research module. Outside, a high-pitched whine cut through the air, the defense system, powering up its weapons. Mira didn't hesitate. She sprinted from the module, heading north toward the ruins. The landscape blurred around her as she ran, the purple vegetation seeming to reach for her as she passed. In the sky, energy buildups were visible now, angry red points of light that were clearly targeting the research base. The ruins loomed ahead, their architecture alien yet oddly familiar, sweeping arches and crystalline spires that caught the light like massive prisms. As Mira approached, she saw that parts of the ruins had been restored, the work of the hybrid civilization before they were forced underground or off-world. At the center of the complex stood what could only be described as a temple, a massive structure of dark stone and crystal, thrumming with energy. This had to be the control center for the defense system. Mira entered cautiously, weapon ready. The interior was a single vast chamber, dominated by a central pillar of pulsing light. Around the pillar, crystalline structures were arranged in concentric circles, each humming with energy. "Orpheus," Mira said into her comm unit, "are you receiving this? Can you analyze the structure?" "Signal weak but receiving," came the AI's voice, distorted by interference. "Structure appears to be a quantum computer of immense complexity. Central pillar likely houses primary consciousness." "Consciousness? You mean it's sentient?" "Probable. Design suggests capabilities far beyond simple automated defense." Mira approached the central pillar, holstering her weapon. If this system was truly conscious, perhaps it could be reasoned with after all. "I am Admiral Mira Hayes of the Alliance Expeditionary Force," she announced, her voice echoing in the vast chamber. "I request communication." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, the light in the pillar pulsed, and a voice spoke, not in sound, but directly in Mira's mind. "Identify purpose." The words were not so much heard as felt, a pressure against her consciousness. Mira steeled herself, focusing her thoughts. "I seek understanding," she replied, both aloud and in her mind. "The beings you are targeting are not a threat. They are a new form of life, evolved from the people you were designed to protect." Corruption detected. Genetic integrity compromised. Primary directive: preserve original Tau genetic code. The original Tau civilization is gone, Mira argued. The cosmic event that threatened them happened. These new beings are their legacy, their evolution. Irrelevant. Primary directive: unchangeable. The energy in the chamber intensified, the crystals glowing brighter. Outside, Mira knew the defense system was preparing to fire on the genetics lab. There must be a way to update your directives, Mira insisted. The Tau themselves would have wanted their civilization to continue, to adapt. Directives set by Tau High Council. Authorization required for modification. An idea sparked in Mira's mind. The genetic material in the hybrids, it contains the consciousness, the memories of the original Tau, does it not? Including members of the High Council? A pause. Affirmative. Then bring them here. Let them speak to you directly. Let them tell you whether these hybrids should be destroyed or preserved. Another pause. Longer this time. The light in the pillar flickered, as if uncertain. Proposal introduces logical paradox. Beings cannot be both corruption and authority. Life isn't logical, Mira said. It's adaptable. It changes. It evolves. That's how it survives. If the Tau had been inflexible, they would never have developed the technology to preserve their consciousness in the first place. The energy in the chamber swirled, creating patterns in the air, mathematical equations, biological structures, philosophical concepts, all intertwining. Mira sensed the defense system was processing, calculating, considering. Temporary suspension of defensive protocols authorized. Hybrid representatives will be summoned for evaluation. The pressure in Mira's mind eased, and she let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. She had bought time, at least. Now she needed to ensure the hybrids could make their case effectively. I need to return to the research base, she said, to prepare for this meeting. Proceed. Defensive actions suspended for 12 standard hours. Mira hurried back to the base, her mind racing. In the genetics lab, she found the mist-filled chamber still intact, the beings within now gathered near the transparent wall, watching her with luminous eyes. "Can you understand me?" she asked. One of the beings approached the wall, placing a 6-fingered hand against it. Its skin was pale lavender, shot through with what looked like circuitry. When it spoke, its voice was melodious, with harmonics beyond human hearing range. "We understand, Admiral Hayes. We have been waiting for you, as she said we should." You mean Captain Chen? The one who became many? Yes. She told us you would come, when the old Guardian awakened. The being's head tilted. You have spoken with it? Yes. It's going to evaluate you, to determine if you should be allowed to exist, Mira explained the situation quickly. The being listened, its expression unreadable but somehow conveying deep thought. "We must prepare, then. The old Guardian speaks in the language of mathematics and quantum states. We will need to translate our existence into terms it can process. Can you do that? We have the knowledge of both civilizations within us." "Yes, we can do this," the being looked at Mira intently. "But we will need your help as well, Admiral. The Guardian was programmed to trust the judgment of certain authorities. You, as an unmodified human, represent an external perspective it might value." Mira nodded slowly. "I'll do what I can, but I need to understand what you are, what you want, before I can advocate for you." "A fair request." The being gestured, and the mist in the chamber swirled, forming images, the history of the hybrid civilization, their achievements, their aspirations. Mira watched, fascinated, as a story of incredible scientific advancement and artistic creation unfolded. The hybrids had developed technologies beyond Alliance understanding, had created works of art that bridged the gap between human and Tau perception. But most importantly, they had developed a philosophy of balance between preservation and innovation, between individual and collective, between past and future. They honored their dual heritage while creating something entirely new. "You see," the being said as the images faded, "we are not a corruption of either species, but a fulfillment of both." The next step in a journey that began millions of years ago. Mira found herself moved by what she had seen. These weren't monsters or abominations, they were a new form of life, with wisdom and beauty all their own. "I'll help you," she decided, "but we need a plan. The defense system thinks in absolutes, in primary directives. We need to show it that your existence is consistent with its fundamental purpose, the preservation of Tau civilization." "Not preservation," the being corrected gently. "Continuation. There is a difference." The 12 hours that followed were intense. As Mira and the hybrids prepared for their meeting with the defense system, the beings emerged from their chamber, 7 of them in total, each slightly different in appearance but all sharing the same luminous quality. They moved with a grace that seemed otherworldly, yet there was something undeniably human in their expressions, their gestures. When the time came, they journeyed together to the temple. The defense system was waiting, the central pillar now pulsing with a steady rhythm, like a heartbeat. "Evaluation begins. Present arguments for continuation." What followed was unlike any communication Mira had ever witnessed. The hybrids didn't speak aloud, but connected directly with the defense system on a quantum level. Mira could sense only fragments of the exchange, mathematical proofs, genetic sequences, philosophical concepts flowing back and forth like a tide. Hours passed, the energy in the chamber rising and falling as the debate continued. At times, the light in the pillar would flare angrily. At others, it would pulse in what seemed like contemplation. Finally, one of the hybrids turned to Mira. "It requires your input now, Admiral. As an unmodified human, your perspective is valued. Do you believe we represent a threat to the original directive, the continuation of intelligent life from Epsilon Tau 4? Mira stepped forward, feeling the weight of responsibility. Her answer would help determine the fate of an entire species. "I believe they represent the best possible outcome of the Tau Preservation Project," she said, addressing the Pillar of Light. "Not a corruption, but an evolution. They carry within them the knowledge, the consciousness, the essence of the original Tau, blended with human adaptability and creativity. They are what the Tau might have become naturally, given time and different circumstances." She took a breath, organizing her thoughts. The primary directive should not be to preserve the Tau exactly as they were, frozen in time, but to ensure their civilization, their achievements, their essence continues into the future. These beings accomplish that purpose more fully than any museum-like preservation ever could. They are alive, creating, evolving, continuing the journey the Tau began. The light in the pillar flared, then steadied. A sense of consideration filled the chamber. Logical inconsistency, detected in original directive. Preservation versus continuation. Analysis required. Another long pause, the crystals around the room pulsing in complex patterns. Analysis complete. Original Tau. High Council directive contained dual purpose, preserve genetic code, and ensure continuation of civilization. These objectives were considered identical at time of programming. New data suggests objectives can be separated. Genetic preservation achieved in crystal storage. Civilization continuation achievable through hybrid evolution. Defensive protocols modified. Hybrids reclassified from corruption to evolution. Protection extended to hybrid population. The pressure in Mira's mind eased, and she sensed the defense system's decision was made. The hybrids around her seemed to relax as well, their luminescence brightening. "It has accepted us," one of them said, wonder in its voice. "After all this time, the Guardian will protect rather than destroy." "What happens now?" Mira asked. "Now," said another hybrid, "we rebuild. We bring our people up from below ground. We call back those who fled to space. We make this world what it was meant to be, a beacon of knowledge and art in this sector of the galaxy." Mira thought of the Aurelia, still orbiting above. And what about me? My mission? The first hybrid approached her, its expression gentle. "That is for you to decide. Admiral Hayes, you could return to the Alliance, report what you found here, or you could stay. Help us build. There is much we could learn from each other." Mira considered. The Alliance she had known was gone. 300 years in the past. Even if she could return, she would be a relic, a woman out of time. Here, she could be part of something new, something extraordinary. "I need time to think," she said finally. "Of course," the hybrid agreed. "But first, there is something you should see." They led her outside, to a ridge overlooking the valley where the research base sat. As they watched, the defense system activated, not to destroy, but to build. Beams of energy shot from installations around the planet, converging on the ruins, the abandoned structures. Before Mira's eyes, the landscape began to transform. The ruins rose, reforming into their original glory. The desert bloomed, purple vegetation spreading like a tide. "The defense system is not just a weapon," the hybrid explained. "It was also designed to terraform, to rebuild after the cosmic event had passed. It is fulfilling its true purpose now." "It's beautiful," Mira whispered, watching as a city took shape below, crystalline spires catching the light of the setting sun. "This is just the beginning," the hybrid said. "With your help, with the knowledge from both our parent species, there is no limit to what we might achieve." As night fell on Epsilon Tau 4, Mira stood on the ridge, watching the new civilization begin to take shape. Above, the Aurelia orbited silently, waiting for her decision. She thought of Captain Chen and the others who had chosen to remain, to become part of something greater than themselves. They had given their lives, or transformed them, rather, to create this new world. "Orpheus," she said into her comm unit, "are you receiving?" "Affirmative, Admiral," came the response, clearer now. "Defense system appears to have reconfigured, threat level reduced to minimal. Begin preparations for long-term orbital operation," Mira ordered. "The Aurelia will remain here as an observation post and linked to Alliance space, should contact ever be re-established." "And you, Admiral?" Mira looked out over the valley, where lights now twinkled in the newly reformed city. "I'm staying, at least for now. There's work to be done here. Orpheus, a new world to help build." "Understood, Admiral. Reconfiguring ship systems for automated long-term operation." As Mira made her way down the ridge toward the city, she felt a sense of purpose she hadn't expected to find when she'd awakened from cryosleep. She had been preserved as a fail-safe, a contingency plan in case of disaster. Instead, she had become a bridge between worlds, between species, between past and future. The hybrids welcomed her at the edge of the city, their luminous forms gathering around her like living stars. Together, they walked into the heart of their new civilization, a society born from the dreams of those who had come before, preserved through centuries of waiting, now finally taking its first steps into the light. And high above, the Aurelia continued its silent orbit, watching over the planet where two civilizations had become one, where a ship's long wait had finally come to an end.